I get knocked down, but I get up again. You're never gonna keep me down. I get knocked down, but I get up again. You're never gonna keep me down. Hey guys, welcome to the channel. Just want to do a video today about how streaming has resurrected piracy in a lot of ways. Because, look, there is a lot of people right now saying, oh, physical media is coming back from the brink. People are migrating back to physical media. But not everyone is going back to physical media. People who are fed up with streaming are more or less going towards piracy. And there's a lot of people going back to piracy. So I want to talk a bit about how piracy has resurrected streaming has resurrected piracy, sorry. I want to talk a bit about that. Now, obviously we all know that streaming for the longest time, before everyone had a streaming service, the biggest service was Netflix. Everyone had Netflix. Everyone was like a one-stop shop for Netflix. Now, there were other services out there. Stan launched in Australia for a while. It's still going. You had stuff in there where there were other streaming services. I'm not saying that Netflix was a monopoly in the space. HBO Max, I think, has been around for a while as well. But for a while, you could mostly find everything you ever wanted on Netflix. It was just all on Netflix or Stan in Australia, or there were other services there, or on Foxtel, or Foxtel Cable was the thing as well. And there was piracy at the time, don't get me wrong. There was piracy at the time. But then there came this time where everyone had their stuff on one service. Sony had Netflix, Disney had Netflix, Paramount had Netflix. All these other services were just on Netflix. And then one day, corporate greed kicked in, and it became, hey, we should have our own service. And now everyone's paying out the butthole to have every single service. You want Paramount Plus? You want Paramount shows? You want Yellowstone? Buy Paramount's one. You want HBO and Warner Brothers? Have HBO Max. You want Disney? Buy Disney. You want Star Wars and that? Disney as well. You want Netflix shows like Stranger Things and some other things, maybe some Sonys? Have Netflix. You want all these sort of things, and then you have sport in here. You want sports in Australia, watch Kayo, or you want ESPN, or you want in America Hulu, or you want all these other services. This is what resurrected piracy, because some people are not going to go back to physical media, especially when it's not on physical media and it's overpriced sometimes for physical media. A lot of people are going to say, I'll just go back to pirating. I will just go back to the way it was back in the day. Now, we haven't seen this return in, music streaming. Music streaming has not really returned to piracy yet. Why? Because every service out there, no matter what service you use, whether you're on YouTube Music, whether you're on Spotify, whether you're on, what's the other ones out there? Amazon, Apple Music, or what's the other one? Amazon Music, or all these other streaming services, Tidal, whatever else is out there. All these streaming services have all the music available. Yes, you can have the Warner catalog, you can have everything, you can have Universal Group. Most of these are on Spotify, most of these are on YouTube Music. A lot of them have their music everywhere. So you have the option to say, hey, I'll just have it on Spotify and have everything. Hey, I'll just have it on YouTube as part of my subscription and have on everything. Have music everywhere. This is why streaming with music hasn't went back to piracy, and it's still accessible and it's still somewhat cheap. You can very much have access to your music. A lot of times if you've bought an Apple product, they'll say, hey, by the way, here's 3 months of Apple Music for free. Here you go. You bought one of our products, we'll give you an incentive to have it. A lot of times you see this activity. A lot of times you see it and it becomes, hey, why would I go back to downloading shaky sort of things from online? You see this a lot with Steam as well. I think Steam have this system with gaming where, hey, if there's a big sale, we'll do this, and you have accomplishments, you have trophies and all this stuff. Hey, why would we go back to dodgy downloads for games when we can get a game pretty much cheap, accessible if it's on sale, and I can have achievements, I can have the community aspect of it plug in. Why would I go back to downloading a dodgy seeded version that I don't even know if it's the correct thing, I don't even know it's going to play correctly? Gaming, apart from massive titles that are just overpriced, hasn't really went back to dodgy kind of downloads on piracy websites. Why has the movie industry went backwards? Because of corporate greed. Because, look, the modern product of streaming, the modern product of what it is today, is you've got to have on all these different services. If you want to have everything, it's worse than cable ever was. It's worse than Foxtel ever had. It's worse. And you might say, oh, but you know, in Australia we have other services as well. We have Binge, we have Kayo for the sport, we have ESPN's kind of merged in with Disney in Australia, even though you have other things. You have DAZN, you have all these other things. But what I want to talk about is corporate greed has resurrected piracy. And back in the day, we had thing like Napster, where Metallica would sue all their fans. Now, obviously, Metallica, I think, have lightened up a bit to that, but downloading music is stealing. Well, they're doing the same thing with movies now. Downloading this movie is stealing. Now, look, if you're going out buying a movie or downloading a movie that is in cinemas, that's a supply and demand issue. If the cinemas are overpriced and they keep going up year after year after year, ticket prices have kept going higher, wages have kept kind of stagnant, there is a lot of things that a lot of people can't afford to go to the cinemas anymore. And sometimes if you're taking a family, like I'm single, but like there's a lot of people out there who have families, who have kids, who have so on. To go and watch a movie, you're taking, what, 2 kids, let's say the average, 2 kids, 2 parents. You're paying at least $100. If snacks are on top, you might be paying $150 to go to that cinema. And you might say, oh, well, don't download the movie then, just watch something else. Don't pirate it. Piracy wouldn't exist if it was more affordable. Now, I know how cinemas work. You don't have to explain, hey, cinemas make money on the candy bar, or, hey, you know, streaming services don't leave it in the cinemas long enough to make its money back, or have discounts like Cheap Tuesday in Australia. I understand there are incentives to have it on streaming services, but then people don't go to the cinemas. You see the cinemas have one big hit here and there. They'll have a big hit and then it'll be stagnant for a couple of months, like Michael is a big hit. But then they push it to streaming too early. It could have hit $1 billion if they left it and said, hey, we're going to leave it for another month in the cinemas. We're going to do the streaming release maybe in August. Go and watch it while it's still in cinemas. This is the intended version. Maybe, I heard there's something like a 3-hour version out there in France that they're going to release of Michael. Put that in cinemas and say, hey, we're going to put out this extended version that you haven't seen yet. You'll have both versions playing simultaneously. You'll have one in one cinema and the other in the other cinema. Here's something a bit more incentivized. Go and watch this before it's out of cinemas. But look, with streaming services, it's become, hey, how do I watch that movie? It's on Disney Plus. How do I watch that movie? It's on Paramount Plus. How do I watch this TV show? It's on HBO Max. When it was one service fits all, people were happy paying, hey, no matter what you charge for Netflix, if it's $20, we'll pay it. And now it's like, oh, pay $200 to have all the services. No, people are just going back to piracy. That's a service issue. That's because people rather go back to piracy than pay corporate greed. And you might say, but IP, we should protect our IPs with all fierce. I'm not saying download or pirate. I'm not saying that either. I'm just saying corporate greed needs to be looked at. If people can't access their media, if people can't access, hey, the specialized falls into this category, and 4K 77. If I can't access the versions of Star Wars that I want, and I've purchased the official releases, I've purchased whatever, shouldn't I have the right, once I've purchased the official releases and given Disney money, to go out and have the version that I'm happy with, as long as I'm not reseeding it back online? You don't put it back online, as long as you don't do seeding, you're fine. Like, you should be at least entitled to download the version you're happy with when money has been exchanged for a service. But when you have the fragmentation of streaming, of, hey, now you have to have 10 different streaming services, where back in the day you had one, or even with physical media, you could get releases. You could say, hey, I'm probably just going to watch The Matrix a bunch of times, you know? People would have their favorites. They would go, hey, I'm probably going to watch The Jetsons a bunch of times, you know? I'm probably going to watch these a bunch of times, so I'll just buy these as cheap as possible, have them in a drawer ready to go, and then I don't have to pay for, you know, this would be a Hanna-Barbera, so this would be HBO or like Warner Brothers. This would be, what's this? Is this Warner Brothers? That's Warner Brothers as well. Where's something different that's not Warner Brothers? Maybe the Santa Claus Disney, maybe that. Let's grab Disney Santa Claus. You know, people would say, hey, I can have Warner Brothers and all that. And if you're buying at places like discount shops like the Salvos, where DVDs are super cheap, I'm just saying, the calculation is there that if you buy these, then you might be saving money, because you've got the Santa Claus for, what's that? If it's $1 per disc, let's just say it's $1 per disc, you got 3 discs in there, but let's just say it's a box set, so it's $5. Let's just say that. You've got a $5 thing. Disney costs, what, $9 with ads, $10 with ads? How much does HBO Max cost with ads? It's like $15 or something, or without ads. I don't know what their pricing is right now. But you know, a lot of this is like, and then also let's look at the WWE Network, because it's on Netflix as well. if you want to watch WWE shows, half the time you can't even find them on Netflix anymore. WCW's for some reason on YouTube. Nitro's on YouTube. They're uploading actively WCW Nitro to YouTube. And WWE pay-per-views are on Netflix, and then you have some on ESPN, and it's all over the place. So the fragmentation of streaming and corporate greed has led to the resurrection of piracy. It has nothing to do with us. It has nothing to do with us spending a bit of money and, you know, you buy a coffee or whatever, you should spend that on streaming and pay for your media. It has nothing to do with that. This is a supply issue. I think what needs to happen in America is Warner Brothers, Netflix, Paramount, HBO Max, whatever it is, because it's kind of the same company, those two now, Sony, they all need to come together and say, look, we've noticed piracy going up again. How do we combat it? A, let's have a streaming service that has everything. But obviously we want to get money. Everyone wants to get paid. Don't get me wrong. Everyone wants to get paid. And you'll start looking at cable models. But I've been noticing stuff like Plex has free-to-air channels on it. It has free-to-air channels. They have a few ads there. Everything. You don't have to pay for anything. But, you know, they're available. Shows are on there are available. And I'm gonna guess that if people wanted to go and watch what's show on there, like Deal or No Deal US with Howie, people are going to say, hey, well, I'll just watch it on Plex then. If I want to watch a certain episode, it'll give me a random episode, I'll watch it, everyone's happy. And I'm watching that ad, so people are getting paid. If we go into a model of, hey, Netflix want to make money, YouTube as well is in this conversation, Warner Brothers, Disney, if they all want to make money, I don't know why this light's hitting me, that one right there hitting me straight in the face. If people want to make money, there's no reason why they can't make money together. I'm just saying this. You have some of the biggest corporations in the world all collaborating on Spotify, or collaborating on YouTube Music, or collaborating on, Apple Music, or collaborating on whatever. Artists might say, oh, it's not as much as we used to get paid, but we still do get paid something for how many streams. It's like price per 1,000, whatever. Just because you want a bigger slice of cake doesn't mean more people are going to show up to eat it. It means that, hey, some people are just going to say, oh, well, I'll just wait till you toss it in the bin afterwards, or whatever, and I'll just wait to get a slice before you toss it, or I'll wait to get a slice when it's on sale, or if you're not going to put a sale on or discount things. I was messaging Stan Australia recently. I was reaching out to Stan, and I was reaching out to Stan Australia because I was like, hey, just out of curiosity, any deals? Because I was like, oh, I might get Stan on, I might just leave Stan on if there's some good deal. I like to support an Australian service. Now, obviously, Stan is weird because it's owned by Channel 9, I believe. And I was just asking their staff, very friendly, like, hey, any deals? Nothing generated. No, we don't have a deal, pay full price. I was like, well, is there a yearly deal? Can I get a deal for a yearly then? I don't know. I might pay a bit extra to get a yearly deal. No. I was like, I tried to get it on for a month. I was like, okay, I might need to pay the month. And then if I pay for 1 month, maybe they'll generate me a deal if I try to cancel. Nope. I went to cancellation and I went, okay, cancel. Usually at that point it would say, oh, is it a price issue? And I'd say, yeah, it's a price issue. I clicked that button. They're like, your subscription will end and you'll have no more access to this show, and this show. I was like, cool. I pressed it, continued, and it let me cancel. Now, you might say that's ease of use, great. At that point, back in the day, you used to be able to say, oh, they're cancelling, but it's a price issue, maybe we should generate a deal. You're not seeing that anymore. They're not competing. I was going to pay Stan. I was going to say, hey, I want this service on. Any deals? And you see so many streaming services say, nope, we believe in our content, we're going to stand by it, because they pay overpriced for some content. I've seen streaming services pay stupid amounts for sport. Like everyone's going to watch, I mean, some people watch the English Premier League. I know English Premier League is pretty big in Australia. I know people support Arsenal and Manchester United and stuff like that. But not everyone's going to get on Stan or whatever it's on, maybe Paramount, to watch that. Not everyone's going to watch the Socceroos on Paramount. Not everybody is going to watch the NRL on Kayo. Not everyone's going to watch the AFL. See, this is the problem. When you start pairing them together with no options to get rid of that, even if you want it or not, maybe you just want the movies. Maybe you don't want this NRL, AFL thing. if you have that connected and say, oh, well, we paid for the thing, so we're going to make our movie people pay for the sport that we pay a price for, then, you know, people are just going to say, oh, screw this, I'll just go and pirate the movie, I don't care. This is what's resurrected piracy. Not because we're greedy people and we want to have everything for free, because people went back to DVD. Some people are just like, screw it, I don't care, this is just corporate greed, everyone's greedy now, so I'll just go and do what I need to do. And this is why people have went back. Now, obviously, I'm a physical media advocate. I went to physical media. I like to pay for my media and own it. But I understand why people are going back to piracy. I understand why. It's a supply issue. This is why people went back. Not because whatever, not because, hey, people, it's just too much money, it's this and that. Yeah, it is too much money, but it's a supply issue. We don't want to attract 400 different streaming services. We want 1 or 2, maybe 3. Now, maybe this will be a good thing when Paramount and HBO and Warner Brothers merge into one. Maybe this will be good because it'll be one service less that you have to pay for. Now, if they put it at $400 a month, people aren't going to pay it. So they need to have price of entry acceptable, and they need to have accessibility. But what do you think? Let me know in the comments. I'll put a couple of end screens. Am I just ranting in this video? Or am I kind of like, am I hitting on a nerve here? Piracy is a supply issue. It has nothing to do with greed and people wanting to get stuff for free. I think we could learn from how stuff happened in the past. Piracy is back. Let me know. Peace.